Welcome back, guys, to the FitBiz Journey podcast. Today I have a really amazing episode because I have Ethan here, who actually flew here yesterday at 5 a.m. Actually, you left at like 4 a.m. from home, right? Something
yeah,
like that?
Had to wake up at 3:30, drove 4 to 5, and then got on the plane at 5:30.
And arrived here, but you're not gonna believe why. So the reason why is because he is really considering a position with us, which is amazing. We're very happy already with him, and we just basically briefly met for 2 days now. But he flew in because, we'll find out why exactly, but because he's serious about a position and he wants to see if this is for him and if we are for him, so both ways. So we are here today with Ethan because we really want to talk about that, what it is to go above and beyond, and when you decide to move up or move down or stay where you are, if you want to stay where you are, feel comfortable, not comfortable, what it takes just to go to another level and what you can do to be able to accomplish that. So Ethan, without further introduction, can you please, I guess, just start out with who you are, what you have accomplished so far, and why would you even consider to fly out and see what this is all about? It's a new position because you're very successful where you are, so it would be really cool for me if you can catch up, the listeners.
Sounds good. So I'm Ethan Halfhide. I'm a special pops trainer. So that means I train people that have medically controlled diseases. That is my passion. I started off just training people that are looking to lose a little bit of weight, but I actually want to get a little bit more specific. So my target demographic, like who I normally help out with, who I can best help, is busy moms age 30 to 40 years old who have either diabetes, cardiovascular disease, insulin resistance, looking to improve overall hormone health while losing a little bit of weight, getting muscle. So I'm from Newport News, Virginia, and that's where I started my career, personal training. I trained for a private studio in the center of the city, and that tailors to more of the high-end niche. And then I'm contracted by the Department of Defense on a military base called Fort Eustis, and then we help those who are retired. I help military veterans, military spouses, and then those enlisted looking to train for personal fitness tests as well. So overall, the fitness industry in Virginia is not quite what it is in a place like Florida, and I realized that I was kind of alone in the sense where like my passion was just not really being enriched, I guess, by the community I was around. And even though it's my hometown, I have friends, my family is there, I realized that I wanted a little more stimulation. I wanted to be around people who are a little more like-minded, a little more like their visions are aligned with my passion as well, and who could support my journey and my growth, because I love what I do. I love helping people. And Daniel has been an inspiration since day one, especially when I read his book. The story about how he actually came to be is pretty crazy, because I read his article in Entrepreneur magazine. I think it was December's edition.
Yeah.
And after that, it was weird. I put down the magazine. I went to Snapchat, and I was looking at a man called Ty Lopez. I was looking at his Snapchat, and I was following his story, as I always do. And he reads a lot of books, and I love reading. So does Daniel. And I was looking at his Snapchat, and oddly enough, within like 10 minutes of reading Daniel's article, I saw that Ty Lopez was showing his book on his story, and I was like, man, Daniel was reaching out to Ty Lopez, so I kind of reached out to Daniel the same way. I didn't quite ask him to be my mentor, although that is ultimately what I would like to have happen, but I reached out to him. I said, man, you're an inspiration. I just read your article. They call you the Elon Musk of the fitness industry. I think that's amazing. I mean, you are where I want to be in about 5 years, So I reached out to him, and we kept in contact for, I want to say, that was back in December. This is July, so 6 months, 7 months. Going on 7 months, and eventually I said, all right, we did an interview a while back, and we realized it wasn't like the right time because my business was growing really fast, and I had some passion projects I wanted to work on in Newport News. Mm-hmm. So eventually I decided, all right, let's let me come out and see how your business is running, how the community is, the brand. What did we establish yesterday? The brand culture. That was the number one thing that attracted me to this business. Everyone is so hungry. They're so passionate about what they do, and it's an innovative company, and that's massive to me. So I flew out, like we said, 4 a.m. on Friday or 5 a.m. on Friday. Got here and spent the whole day with them, just meeting the whole team and seeing how they live and seeing the overall culture and what they do for the clients that they have. And I love it. I mean, this is exactly what I want to do.
Awesome. Yeah. So glad to hear that. And again, thank you very much for coming out. And I think it's a really, really good episode for people who are personal trainers right now. Are they starting out as personal trainers, or they already are well-established personal trainers? But they are because we're gonna talk about burning out and that kind of stuff, because you have some experience with it too. I'm not saying you ever burned out or anything.
Well, it's around this time. 80% of personal trainers within 3 years. Yeah.
Yep. So So, and talk about your passion and everything and how important is what you do, and you are not like after money and why is it important, even though you are after money, but it's not at the same time. Exactly. Meaning like obviously you have
everybody
to get
wants to make money.
Exactly, yeah. But that's a different story. So we'll talk about it in a minute too. But what I want to bring up to personal trainers who again, they don't want to be personal trainers, or if they are personal trainers and they want to, because most people start businesses, what I realize when I meet with people, they say that they're going to make millions of dollars. And we just talked about this on the car all the way here, that only 4% of businesses, unfortunately, in the whole world, in the United States, 27 million businesses. There are 27 million businesses in the United States, and only 4% actually makes over 1 million in revenue. It's 4%, and yet anybody who starts businesses says they're going to make millions of dollars.
Yep.
So same thing with personal trainers when I meet with them. And unfortunately, which we're going to talk about today, because you are very good at this, but most people are all like the know-it-all thinking. Like personal trainers think like that they are know-it-all already, and they don't take any information from outsiders. But you constantly reading, you improving, you're looking for mentors, and you want to surround yourself with other people. So what can you tell me about your habits as far as, because you read a lot for a personal trainer especially, because most personal trainers I meet, they say they don't have time. So, so how do you make time for reading?
Time. Yeah, just like you said. I mean, in that article you said, I think I highlighted actually. You said you wake up at 4 a.m. every day, and before you even turn on your phone, you read. Yeah, and that's one. I need to do that more because that sounds so tranquil. It sounds awesome. That's a great way to start your day, especially if the previous day was stressful. Having that me time, that time to kind of recharge. And we're only children. Yeah. We love alone time, and reading kind of, it kind of translates into that too. That's how we recharge our batteries. But when you take time, say after a busy day of work, it's so easy to kind of do a mindless activity. Sit down and read, catch up with the Kardashians and whatnot, whatever TV show that you like. And you're filling your brain with whatever you're watching on TV. And maybe it's not the most healthy information. Sometimes the news can stress you out. But if you're picking a book and you're reading about it, and whatever you're learning, you're filling up your brain with that information that you can directly apply to your life, that is, you're in full control of your own happiness there. I mean, you're fully in control of your future, your growth. Because as you read those books and you apply those principles, you directly improve your life. And I think that is the best part about reading for me. Personally, I don't read fiction too much. I love to read about things that I can directly apply, whether it's mental, physical, diet, or various just efficiency principles. Yeah,
and good point that you said that, because guys, remember that knowing and not yet using is not yet knowing. So it makes sense that if you read something and you don't take action on it, then there's no point. So, because same thing, Gary Vaynerchuk always says this, by the way, at his speaking engagements. He points out some people literally in the crowd and say that, hey, I recognize you. You were at the my last one at this whatever. Really? And then he would call them like an a-hole and say that why are you keeping up the spot from somebody else who could learn from this? Because clearly you didn't learn anything from my last speaking engagement, and you didn't take action because you're back here now. You should have took action and blah blah. So don't hold up the seat for someone who actually wants to learn. That's what he was saying.
It's also that's another thing, especially. So I was reading, obviously, like it's a big decision that I'm trying to make. So I was reading about confirmation bias and how people will stay at a company just because they've spent so many years at that company and so much time, like, oh, I've invested so much into my team, I don't want to leave because of that. Whereas that decision to move or to pick up a new job may be the best thing for them, but because they've invested so much, they don't want to move. And a lot of people will sit there, and I was definitely a factor into this as well. I would read, and I was a little scared to act. Like I didn't want to put myself out there. I was scared of public failure, putting myself out there for my friends and my family. I was like, what if I fail, And I have failed publicly, and I've grown so much from it. And I think that everyone should take time to learn, write down what you've learned, create an actionable plan, and then go forth. If you fail, you will learn so much, and just make sure that's calculated, and write down what you've learned from your failures, because eventually you will succeed. They said, was it 90% of businesses fail within their first year?
Yeah, it's actually, I think there's a new numbers that came out, and I think it's really just like 70%. But really? Still, I mean, even though that number is pretty bad. But because they did like new calculations what the real statistics are, and they contributed what does it mean actually to fail in business. So there's lots of numbers in it. But yes, most businesses, it's very safe to say fail.
Right. And in that same article, they said something about a certain amount, like a very high percentage, fail within their first year. But those same businesses that try again a second time succeed at a higher rate. Yeah, because you learn so much. I don't know the exact math on it.
Yeah, that's right. And it's crazy also to say math, because as the new numbers come out, it changes, and then also where the article got the numbers from, lots of research, it's all over the place. So when I usually say numbers, I do like lots of articles and look them up, you know,
Exactly.
because so many people say
So many different
things.
variations, yeah.
But the other thing is too that what also crazy is that so many Fortune 500 companies that were Fortune 500 20 years ago are not even on the Fortune 500 anymore, and they just completely disappeared.
Really?
So even those companies who make it all the way there are not guaranteed to stay because, well, they get comfortable, and we're gonna talk about that in a minute too. But most people get comfortable and they're afraid to go advance ahead, and it's way harder when you have like 500 employees or 5,000 employees versus 50 or 5. You know what I mean? So it's you're all in and that kind of stuff. But I mean, look at there are so many companies, Toys R Us, and so many companies who went out of business, and Amazon came into the game. You know?
Yeah, it's hard to innovate when you're that big,
Yes.
you know, because you have that business hierarchy, and everyone has to do those checks and balances. That's why, Jeff Bezos says he doesn't have a meeting that he can't, you know, feed with a pizza.
Yeah.
So it's never more people that one pizza could feed, and I think that's big because it shows the power of a few rather than the masses, you know.
Yeah, 100%. That's very good. You said that, and so what do you say about, because you talked about that it's, you know, a huge deal for you that to move and that kind of stuff, you know. So how do you decide, and what would you recommend to people who are trying to think to why should they work for a company and why should they stay within their own, or like just go alone?
Yeah.
You know
So mainly, you know, it should never be about money, because at the end of the day, that's an extrinsic motivator. It's not the healthiest motivator. Yeah, you know, you can afford nice things and whatnot, but the main thing is growth. You know, you're going to work for, what was it, 67% of your life, or maybe a little bit more, right? Over that?
Well, per year, basically.
Per year, yeah. So if you're going to be spending that much of your time working and money is your only motivator, it's not a healthy source. You know, it's not sustainable. You have to really focus on brand culture, your company culture. Like, are you surrounded by people who fuel your growth? Are you feeling like you're constantly progressing each day? Just like with training, progressive overload. You know, you're not going to advance in your training unless you're constantly putting yourself under new stimuli. So when you're just going through the same motions, your brain goes on autopilot for a while, and you stop to learn. And to me, there's nothing worse than that. You have to always be challenging yourself in new ways. Get uncomfortable and then grow from that.
Yeah, exactly. That's good. Great you said that. And yeah, I mean, just like you said, I mean, spending 67% of your time over a year on something that you don't like, because most people, believe it or not, don't like their job. They hate actually their job and look for the weekend. Yeah. So why would you do something, or you really need to either find a new job, or you just really need to think about what you do and learn how to love what you do. Find something that you can be passionate about. Maybe start with first finding out that who you are helping with what you are doing. Exactly. And then second, why your job actually matters to someone. And then thirdly, also to try to see to what you just said, to measure. So measure your personal growth. Whatever you're measuring, you need to measure something so you can see if you grew or you stayed or went down. Because most personal trainers also say that their retention is like 70-80%, when actually if you look at the real numbers, because MindBody, I think, manages like 50,000 studios, something like that, worldwide. And the statistics says that, think about, what do you think was the statistics for retention, average, for the whole world, for a fitness studio for 1 year? What's the retention?
I would say maybe 70%.
So this is crazy, by the way. You guys can look this up. So 10%. So if somebody, I'll tell you why it is. So if you start with 100 clients in January, and by December you will have 10 of those clients. But the thing is, you might still have 100 active clients, but because you're replacing them throughout the year. And that's why you think your retention is so high. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about like, that's why personal trainers, think that their retention is so high, is because they constantly replacing clients. Really? And then of course, a very, very high performance, by the way. But I'm talking about gyms, not like individuals, because individual, there could be like anomalies. What's the word for it? Like Amazon is like a anomaly. There we go. That's the word. So there are personal trainers like that, and who can accomplish like crazy. Like we even have some personal trainers who have like that high percentage, like they haven't lost a client for a year, but that's because they've created that leadership between them and relationship and all that. Rapport. So rapport, exactly. So now they're like best friends. They buying each other like $1,000 worth of gifts sometimes. It's like so crazy. Anyways, but that's my point, that most gyms think that their retention is so great, but no, they're just replacing their clients. If the people that you started in January, they are not there in December, or whatever is not there, that's your retention. So whoever you're adding up throughout the year, that doesn't count. You know what I mean? So that's what I heard to say. Oh, and the high-performing gyms, it's 30% on average, 35 or 36, something like that. Yeah. So the point is that, but we also know that how bad are personal training studios and gyms. I mean, they are all about contracts. They are not giving the service that they need. Or of course, thank you for the exception, guys. And there are lots of listeners who are actually listening, and they're amazing at it, and they're killing it. but there are way more that are not, because they're not caring for the client.
And that brings me back to the point, you actually, they can't see it, but all the books on the shelf, I mean, that's gold right there. And you recommended a book to me, The Key Person of Influence, right?
Yes.
And in the 30 pages that I read yesterday, the number one thing that I took away, there's two types of people, functional and vital, right?
Yes.
And functional people are replaceable. They're scared to take breaks. They're scared to step away from the business because at the end of the day, they can be replaced. And then there's vital people. There's people that are connected to the result rather than the process of getting the result. And those are the people that step back. They're not afraid to take vacation. They're not afraid to step away because they know they can't be replaced, So I think that really applies to personal training. Like, are you scared to step away because you think your clients are going to leave? Or are you okay with taking time off because you know they're going to miss you? And as soon as you come back, they're going to say, all right, I need that time slot. Maybe we should go a day extra. So actually, I just took a break this past week, not to toot my own horn. I took a full week off. And as soon as I came back, I had 2 clients step up to 3 days a week with me from 2 days a week.
Awesome.
Yeah. But that's really important. And the number one thing I want to give you credit for is that exactly what we talked about with the company getting too big, and it seems like the bigger you get, almost like the retention rate's down. It seems like when it becomes less personable, that's when you really start to kind of sacrifice the quality of the service.
Yes.
And it seems like you have just stepped it up every step of the way. You have 200 employees?
No, I wish not yet. 30.
Yeah, 30 employees, but 5 studios, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the process of doing that, building and getting bigger, but still keeping a very tight-knit community is huge. And I think that's number one for me, like why I'm so attracted to this business.
Yeah. So no, I'm very glad to hear that. And then, by the way, he just learned this on yesterday, basically, in a few hours that he was here, about the Key Person of Influence, the book. By the way, a really good point that you brought up about the going away on vacation and replacing yourself. So here's the thing. That book, if you haven't read it, just read it. It's very easy to read. It's really amazing. It changed my business like crazy when I read it and helped me become a key person of influence in my industry. And you have to. We talk about in a minute that also how important it is, because if people know you more often and they see you nonstop all the way on social media, Facebook and all these places, when they come into you and they already saw a place, they feel already comfortable and they feel kind of cool that, oh, I know this place. And then I know you. I see you all the time. And then so you almost become like a celebrity, and it becomes credibility. When I go out to Whole Foods or any places we go, even today, like when I have this logo up, people come up to me and talk to me, hey, I know you, or and that kind of stuff. They come up all the time to me, and that's because I became a key person of influence in this area. And of course, the goal is once you became one in your city, then you go bigger, and you always make the circle bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. That's why the logo of the book is that big circle, because it's all around you and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. But that book at the end, and this should be a goal for all of our listeners, so make sure to listen to this. Your goal should be, wherever you are in life right now, that in business, especially if you have a business, and even if you don't, all my trainers, by the way, all of our trainers here, I make them to become key person of influence, because I want them to have a passive income on the side, like online coaching, which you're working on too, and all these things, because I want them, even though they can make you around $50,000+ and even more, just like as a basic trainers when they come on board, our goal is that when they are actually, let's say, max out, and if all they want to be just trainers because they love it, and there are a few of those, by the way, who don't want to move up, or at least not right now, they say, I really love training and genuinely helping people. Those people are going to max out eventually, and let's say then your max income is at X level, then the only way you can make is with affiliations. Is that
affiliations?
Yeah, like with different brands on social media, key person of influence, getting invited for speaking engagements, but that only works. Writing a book, we talk about that too, because you did that too. I did that anyways. So all those things will give so much credibility, and your value goes up for the company, so the company will pay you more if you're that valuable to them. They'll guarantee you that they're going to choose between you and somebody else if your value is so high, because you bring in so many value to the company,
So you're dedicated.
And become more valuable. So it's, if you're to your company, wherever you work, if you become crazy valuable, they're not going to get rid of you. They will do anything to keep you. But anyways, to get back to that, so the book at the end will ask you to take off basically a month. So if you're not able to take off a month from your work, meaning like completely go away, like a vacation for Europe, the number one question that I ask people that I coach online and in person, that if you cannot go away for a month from your business, then you don't have a business. So because the business had to survive without you while you're gone. Yeah. So when I read that book, we took a month vacation to Europe with Nina, like 2 years ago and even last year too. Every year so far we went for a month vacation, except this year, just because we opened up like 2 times more studios we had before. So anyways, but so sometimes you make sacrifice or something. But the point is, that should be a goal. For example, that you're able to go away from vacation, for a month. Because what happens?
That's a good goal to work towards. Yeah.
I mean, what happens if something happens to you? Then you're out, right?
And it kind of opens your eyes. It's like, okay, so I need to work on my business to get to this end goal, and then you reward yourself with a 1 month vacation. It's awesome, and hopefully you pass the test and your business is still running when you get back.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think that's awesome.
Okay, so tell me about two things. One is that you're writing a book, and then second, what was I just said that we need to talk about? Do you remember? Either way, let's just start with the book and I will think about it. But go ahead. So tell me about your book and why you're writing it. Yeah.
The book is called Starting Health, and it's a complete comprehensive guide, 3-part guide to helping people burn fat, gain strength, and improve hormone health. And that's for the same type of client that I help out. 90% of my in-person clients are busy moms, like we said, 30 to 40 years old, who are looking to lose a little bit of weight after they gain a baby. Maybe they have medically controlled diseases. So I read all the time in Barnes & Nobles, and I look through the sections, the diet sections and the fitness sections, and I ask the workers there, I'm like, which book is the most helpful? Which one is flying off the shelf? What are people raving about? He said, none of these books really sell that well. There was a book he recommended that used to sell out really well called Becoming the Subtle Leopard. Have you ever heard that?
No.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, and that was in a completely different section across the library. So I realized that all those books, all those fad diets and whatnot, maybe people are doing them, but they're not taking the time to really read about that. And that's the main thing. They're jumping on the wagon without learning what's actually on the wagon, I think that's massive. I kind of just realized that myself, So I kind of plotted out where I want my book to be. I figured out which section I want it to be and why I want it to be different from the other books in the section. So I read through. I realized a lot of them, they're just selling you. They're not really teaching you. They're trying to sell their latest program as well. So the main thing, the book is going to be a complete guide to getting in the right state of mind, finding your why, finding the intrinsic motivator that's going to get you started and keep you going. Then an exercise guide, and I give you a neural morning primer workout. Everyone should work out a little bit in the morning. It's a great way to get started for the day, and it affects your decision-making skills throughout the day as far as your healthy habits. So. And then lastly, the diet. And I talk about low GI foods and why what you eat is almost more important about what you eat is almost more important than how much you eat. Because if you eat the right foods, you won't be as hungry throughout the day. You won't have that rise and fall of blood sugar. And then I give a few success stories with some of my clients. So I think it'll be a good little balance of motivation, factual information, and then an actionable plan to help you guys out.
Awesome. Very good to hear that. So when do you think it's going to be out?
So it's 45,000 words in. Everything is pretty much filled out. I need to shoot the 30-day program. I need to do the exercises, shoot that, and get it printed.
Awesome.
It's about done.
Good to hear that. Yeah.
Yep.
Very good. So by the way, we talk about writing books all the time on the podcast. So I think on the next episode or the following episode, but hopefully, I think the next one, we actually gonna have a podcast that we talk about how to actually write a book.
Yeah.
And how to write it in under 3 months and make it a bestseller. So that's what's going to be the goal of the podcast.
I'll be watching.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, Perfect. So is there anything else that you would recommend to any personal trainers or gym owners who are watching right now?
I would recommend to you guys, take time, even if you need to step away for a while, and just take your time to really plan out your business. 1 year goal, 5 year goal, even 6 months like that. The short-term goals are awesome. Micro ambition is huge because that'll keep you motivated each day. Plan out what you want your business to do. What problems are you solving and who are you helping? Because I think that's the number one thing. The burnout rate's 80% within the first 3 years. I know the business owner at my studio was really worried about that with me. I'm like, no, I'm just getting started, because I took the time to do that. That was the number one thing that helped me out, because if you take the time to figure out who you're helping and why you're helping them, how you're changing their life, it's almost like instead of pushing yourself to wake up at 4 a.m. every day, you're being pulled to do so. And that motivational source is something I can't even describe to you. So take the time to do that. I think you'll find yourself making a lot more money, being a lot happier, and freeing up a lot more time throughout the day to learn new things. Yeah,
that's very well said. Yeah, it's because every people wondering all the time that how can they stay motivated. I get that question asked almost every day. So actually what you said makes perfect sense. And they really need to know their why they're doing this. So they should definitely read the book that's called Why by Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek, yeah,
that's his name.
Absolutely.
Because why is what you're gonna make you get out of the bed, all the time. And when things turn really bad, it's gonna really help you to be able to move forward.
Right. So and the one thing, right?
The one thing is really good. Yes, that's how to stay focused, laser focused.
Exactly.
It's really helped me too. So, anyways, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Ethan, to come out and being on the show. How can people find you? Where should they find you on Instagram or website, or where can they hear more about you?
What is it? You can follow me personally at Big Easy Does It 5 on Instagram, and then I have the Special Pop Savior is my fitness account. And then if you're looking for the online training site, that is called The Panacea Fit, and that has just launched and it's going to be built out here in the next month.
Awesome. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
I really
Such
appreciate
a pleasure.
it. Yeah, thank you. And for you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please give us feedback and please rate the episode below. If that would be amazing. I would really, really appreciate it. And just send in your questions. We are more than happy to, reply back anything that you have. And thank you again for listening. Have an amazing day.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.